Wake up at Holiday Inn Express to a can't-miss breakfast that's free with every stay. Count on all the hot, fresh coffee you need and an incredible breakfast buffet that has something for everyone, like eggs, cinnamon rolls, and even hot, fresh pancakes with all the toppings you crave. Next time, do yourself a favor and stay at a Holiday Inn Express with a can't-miss breakfast that's free with every stay. So, when you wake up at Holiday Inn Express, you'll wake up happy. A part of IHG Hotels and Resorts.
Executives, Coastal Bend, and Corpus Christi, Texas. And you're listening to the Alien Strand podcast with Donald Ledesma. Buying or selling, visit me at kellygreenrealtor.com or visit me on my Facebook page, Kelly Green Realtor. See you there.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Alien Strand podcast. I'm your host, Donald Ledesma, and welcome to this special live event. Yeah, live event. And, I wasn't going to do a podcast this week, and the only reason is because I kind of hurt myself. I hurt my arm. Somehow, pulled a muscle or did something. And, it put me in a lot of strain as far as writing and with medications and all. You know how that goes. So, I decided to just throw something special out for you guys, because we've had a very rough year, right out of the gate almost, when this nasty COVID stuff started and, what was it, March? Somewhere around there, maybe a little bit before that in February. Some people say way back in November the year before, but we still don't know that just yet. And I put out a lot of podcasts, right? I didn't think I did that many, but I did. And because I love doing this, and I love giving the stories out to you guys and just putting it out to you, so that way, if you didn't hear it, you're going to hear it from here, from Alien Strand Podcast, because what I like to do is a lot of these stories that you'll probably catch on a lot of these shows or on TV or even movies about them, they just don't get into the real detail on a lot of these instances as far as dates, times, and who they talk to, names. And what I do in this show is that, I mention all these people in here because I think they're just as important as everybody else is, right? Especially in these old ufology stories. And a lot of people ask me, Donald, why do you do like old stories? How come you don't do like stories of now and stuff? Well, because a lot of this stuff is not really documented as well as they used to. Back in the 40s and 50s, and they documented these things with major details, and didn't think much of it when they were doing it, right? because they just thought, well, these people are seeing stuff, or maybe the government knew about it, and, they just like, well, they weren't thinking ahead, right, of how other people might interpret a lot of these things and put these puzzles together, as far as these UFO stories and how a lot of them fit together, right? And, a lot of these stories do fit together. They fit together very well. At times, I've done, I don't know, maybe 5-10 of these stories where they actually coincide with another story, right? And I don't think about it a lot of times when I'm doing these podcasts, where I'm putting these production podcasts together, because I'm doing a lot of homework on these stories, right? And a lot of times it doesn't ring a bell to me until I get to that point of a story where I'm like, wow, that sounds like this other story. And it puts the story of these alien abductions or encounters together so well that, even if you're not a believer of ufology or UFOs, there's just too many stories out there that just coincide together. And different timelines, and that's the difference between a lot of these stories that are out there, right? Because of the different timelines. A lot of these, extraterrestrials that people see, they actually look like another one that I've talked about prior. It could be 20 years, 30 years prior, or later, that these two people or different entities of what had happened to them never met, but they're seeing the same extraterrestrial, right? So then you ask, so okay, these people are seeing the same things. Why aren't people putting this together, right? That there has to be life out there. Has to be. And that's why I posted, I believe, on Alien Strand there on Facebook. If you go to our Facebook page, I recently did it maybe a few days ago. And it had a post I did with, that I saw of Joe Rogan, right? He's one of my favorite people to watch and listen to on podcasting. Not just because he's with the UFC and everything like that, but this man is so knowledgeable on everything. He has read so many books on people, on the universe, on extraterrestrials, and UFOs, that, he says, how could we be the only ones in this whole universe? Because the guy asked him, I know you believe in ETs or extraterrestrials or UFOs, but I don't believe in that stuff, right? That's what his guest was saying. But he tells him, how could there not be something more intelligent, even as far as 300 years ahead of us? I mean, look what we do to apes, or we go study them, right? Out in the wild, in the jungle, animals. Why do we do that? And he put it together that if I was an extraterrestrial, I would be doing the same thing. If we found something like that, why not come to Earth? Why not stay there and watch us? And watch how we react. Watch what we do. It's intriguing to them, even though they're not from here, right? And that has always got my mind always racing on extraterrestrial life, other planets, these major, massive UFO motherships that they've been spotting lately all over. Close to the sun, 3 times bigger than Earth. This interstellar asteroid that came close to Earth and looped back around and shot itself back out. How does something like that huge, do that? Comes in interstellarly from out of our solar system, shoots in between our planet and another planet, does a loop around and shoots back out. That's kind of intriguing, isn't it? Intelligent? Maybe. Too far away for us to see it, or to even get close to it, to know if anybody was driving that thing, right? That is a possibility. And it brings me to something that I read the other day. Now we're shooting out to Mars. Here within a few years, or maybe a year. There's a space race going on right now. They want to get to Mars. They want to put a man on Mars. And they want to put a station up there. And then you ask yourself, how is this station going to survive up there, right? It takes 6 months to get there. Well, I was reading that they came out with this, they've been working on this energy, right? It's called a kilopower, right? And what this is, what they've been doing, we've been working on it, I think since 2012 they tested it, and in 2015 they started putting this thing together. And it's actually made with a reactor. What they want to do with this thing, they want to shoot it up to Mars or wherever so it can generate power, electricity, right? So when they do make a station up there, what's going to power this station that they need? Right now, they want to get a little research station up there on Mars, but they need it to make 40 kilowatts of power. Kilowatt is a lot of energy. Right now, the Curiosity, the rover that's up there, only generates 110 watts of power. That's what you get on your light socket, right? That's what it does with its panels, just to keep it going. They can charge. But right now, this kilopower that they've made, and they call it fission as well, it generates 1 kilowatt of power right now. But they said with this amount of power, using a reactor, it can produce power for 15 years, right? 15 years this thing can make power on its own. And that's a long time for just one device. And they say this device is no bigger than a aluminum trash can. Just think about the size of how big this little kilopower reactor is. So it's not very big. And that got me thinking. Man, they're already planning way ahead of what's going to happen when they get there. And yeah, they're going to have electricity. Like my friend David right now, talking to me. He's saying, do you think that they're coming back because the planet's atmosphere has finally gone bad? You know, we don't know. We don't know. Was there life on Mars before? Guaranteed that they will find something there. I think they will. I mean, what are your thoughts? You know, it's just one of those things that you never thought that you would live to see something like this, to where, yeah, they flew to the moon. Plenty of them. Even China just recently got there, took a bunch of photos, got close to the dark side of the moon, took photos, and came back quickly. Now we have SpaceX up there. Remember when the space shuttle, this huge craft, they would shoot up into space on top of airplanes. And then now with the SpaceX, this little small craft, probably half the size of the space shuttle, maybe less than that, flying with these screens in front of them where they can control this whole ship, dock it on the space station. So, you know, I think we're getting super, super close to what is actually going to happen. In other words, what we're going to see here in a couple of years. Elon Musk, he's putting all this together. I have a friend up there in SpaceX, you know, in Boca Chica. Me and my fiance Kelly Green went out there, and, you know, we took a few photos. We checked it out. Man, that is an awesome site. If you haven't seen SpaceX, if it's anywhere around you, because it's all over the United States, they have a little place where they put them together and they shoot them off. But this craft is awesome. And that test they did where it when it came back down and crashed, that's what it was supposed to do. They wanted to see if they could change that trajectory when it flipped and came back down. But the thrusters weren't fast enough to catch it before it hit the ground. But they needed the data. And that was a good thing for Elon. I'm glad he did that. Because that's more of a guarantee when they land on Mars. They won't have any issues. It would be fixed. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. You know, because there's a lot of these things that are happening all over us, all around us, in the year 2020 that we're in right now. For some, it might seem bad, and it has been. But at the same time, we're being strong, standing strong together, you know, and, you know, we're all hoping for the best. And I'm really thanking you guys for listening to these podcasts, because they're really important. And I couldn't believe how many I've done from January 8th all the way till now. I was thinking, well, I did 15. Ooh, I did pretty close to 30. And they're all informative. Every single one of these podcasts are informative. You know, I have a lot of my friends that text me and waiting for the new podcast to come out. They'll go back and they'll listen to my podcast 3 or 4 times because it's very interesting and it's very informative. And I just do this, you know, to help you, to give you the information that you need as far as these UFOs, ufology, and everything of the unknown that's happening out there.
Did you miss your deadline to renew your Medicaid coverage? You can still send your completed annual review form to Healthy Connections Medicaid. You may be assigned to another health plan, but you can ask to come back to First Choice within 60 days of renewed Medicaid eligibility. It's your family. It's your choice. First Choice is the right choice. Renew and choose us. Visit selecthealthofsc.com/renew to learn more.
Are you struggling to conceive? You have options, and at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group, we'll make sure you have the guidance and support you need. PREG is known for individualized fertility care that's unique to every patient. We take the time to provide a reassuring and empowering experience because we believe that you deserve nothing less. Let us help you on your journey to parenthood. Visit us at pregonline.com to learn more. Get the guidance and support you need at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group.
So I decided to talk to you guys about this today, and I'm going to go back a little bit, because if you haven't heard any of my podcasts before, you could start from the ones this year. And actually, like I said, I did one on January 10th, right? This was the Jesse Rostenberg encounters of 1954. This story was just crazy because it happened between this woman and her two children. They lived out on a farm in the middle of nowhere. Until they run into something, right? But I want you to go back and listen to that story. Very good story. I enjoyed that story. I had another one. Episode number 29. I called it The Visitors. And this was with Shauna Lee Gilmer. She's a really good friend of mine. Really good friend of mine. She was one of my guests on the show. Gave me a lot of information, and we talked a lot about what she was seeing out there. Very good show. You need to listen to that one. That's number 29. I also did one, which was episode number 31. Good friends of mine. This was with Ian and Melanie Bright. And they're CE5ers. So what they do is they go out there. You know how people would, you see videos of them with the laser pointers, and they'll be up in the mountains somewhere, and they just try to contact CE5s, they extraterrestrials, beings. I believe they even had an encounter with a Bigfoot out there. Listen to that podcast, which is number 31. Great conversation with them. I really loved talking to them. Also, I had a episode number 32. This was the Cape Girardeau incident. And this one was kind of strange, right? Because it happened in 1941. This was before the Roswell crash. And the main person in this one is a reverend. He was a preacher, a priest of some kind. And they call him out to a plane crash out there, right? Lo and behold, what does he find? Well, go back, number 32, and listen to this podcast, and I'll give you all the information on that incident. This is one of my favorites as well. So if you listen to number 33 with J-Rod, this is about J-Rod. It's a story supposedly that happened to Dan Burek, right? And what it is, he was supposedly in touch with the J-Rod, which was an extraterrestrial that was, I believe that was caught on one of the crashes that happened out there. And he ends up interacting with this J-Rod, that he called it, for many years. It's a great story. Number 33, J-Rod. You need to go listen to that podcast. Has a lot of information that you would really like. Also, I have number 34, the Thomas Incident, 1988. You know, this happened in Birmingham, England. Two women that were walking just to work, and they encountered something on the way to work that they shouldn't have seen or shouldn't have encountered. And I get into detail on that story as far as extraterrestrials and a UFO craft. Very good story, number 34. That's the incident, Thomas Incident. So I'm going to cap off. There's number 35. This is one of my favorites as well. I had a guest on. His name was Chris Wax. And I talked to Chris a lot. He's a director. He made a movie called Case 347. Sci-fi movie. It's about extraterrestrials. And it has a mixture of everything in there. I recently found it on Tubi TV. So if you go to Tubi TV, you'll see the movie there. Good friend of mine, Chris Wax. Go check out this movie, Case 347. Sent it to me before it was put out, and I really thank you, Chris, for that. It gave me a lot of inspiration for my own cinematography. Thank you. And we have number 36, the McGuire incident. Happened in 1978. You know, this was a guy that was in the Air Force. Big person there. And in this story, they ended up running into an extraterrestrial or two on the field there on the Air Force Base. This is an excellent story. Has a lot of details. Check this one out, number 36, the McGuire incident. Then we have number 37, the good, the bad, the grays, I called it. You know, and it coincides with my other podcast that I had before this one, before that one. And, you know, I put it together because I had one called The Grays, I believe. That was one of the most downloadable podcasts out so far, next to the Anunnaki one that I did it with Preston. But when I talk about the Grays, I get into a lot of detail about how the Grays are, what they eat, how they interact, why they pick up people. You know, where they come from. You know, it's crazy that, you know, people think that these Grays are not around, but there's just too many stories they put together that they've seen the same thing over and over, right? A lot of people see them as cute, or they look cute, but no, a lot of them aren't. There's the bad ones out there as well. I warn people a lot about the Grays. Only because of their agenda. Listen to that podcast, number 37, The Good, the Bad, the Grays. It's one of my favorites out there. And then I have number 38, which is the Christina Florence abduction. This is in 1974. You know, this one took place in the desert area. Loss of time. Great story. Goes into a lot of detail. Happens to her and her daughters. You need to listen to that one. That's a good one. Number 38, the Christina Florence abduction. Also, I did an interview with an author. His name is Daniel Cross. Very famous author. He did The Shape of Water as well. Have you guys ever seen that movie? I did an interview with him. It's called Bent Heavens. If you want to listen to that interview with Mr. Daniel Cross on Bent Heavens, on the movie, on the book that he wrote and he sent me. Thank you, sir, for that. I really appreciate it. It was a good book. Listen to that. That's number 39.
How long was Neil Armstrong actually on the moon? When did Europe start speaking English? Did Marco Polo really go to China? CuriosityStream is the streaming service for all things history, plus science, wildlife, and more. What's the real story behind the Mona Lisa? We've got that. What caused the collapse of Rome? We know. Where did we find mankind's earliest ancestor? Come find out. For the holidays, give the gift of curiosity with 25% off gift cards for your curious cohorts. It's holiday shopping season at curiositystream.com/gift.
And then we have number 40, the Jesse Long abductions. You know, that took place in 1957. And he was abducted. You know, a lot of these abduction stories, they seem to fall within the same category in a sense, to where if people are listening to these stories, they'll start putting them together. Yes, they're all amazing shows. All of these shows are amazing. And this Jesse Long story is a very good story. Go back on number 40. Go check that out. Now, here's one of my favorites. Did number 41. We call this one The Shadow of Light. And the only reason is because I get to talk about a subject that I've been putting on Alien Strand on Facebook more and more lately. I don't know if you've noticed, if you're a big fan of Alien Strand there on Facebook, but it's about Bigfoot. And I had a guest on there. Her name was Crystal. And let me tell you, she gave me 4 encounters that she had, full stories that you can hear on that podcast. One of the most downloadable podcasts as well, which is number 41. Listen to that story. It's just crazy how people as well, they don't get to put these together. You know, a lot of people always ask, you know, are these Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yetis? A lot of people think they're could be mixed with extraterrestrials or interdimensional beings, right, as well. Like, because the only reason is because they come in and they come out. Some people say they're just there for a second and they disappear without even hearing them move. And that's what intrigues me about the Bigfoot. Because of how they look, the size of their eyes. Almost like no expression. They almost look ape-like. You know, but they're not. It's crazy. I see so many pictures and photographs of the Bigfoot, and they just look so much alike. Even drawings that people have done. The massive sizes of sculptures that people have done on this beast, because that's what it is. You know, and I admire the people that go out there looking for Bigfoot, really. Because it's just something that you don't want to encounter one of these things. If you listen to the stories with me and Crystal live, the stories that she experienced with these Bigfoot and how aggressive and territorial these things are, that you'll kind of think twice about going out there looking for Bigfoot. But check out that podcast, number 41. And I have another one called The Hybrid Theories, number 42. And what I do in this podcast is I talk about, you know, extraterrestrials and the hybrids and what is their agenda, why they abduct people. Why do they let women, or they're mainly women that they take? Because they take their eggs, right? They make hybrids. Then 10 years later, they get to see their children. Men as well. They abduct them. A lot of times they do sperm extractions and egg extractions, right? And it's just crazy how they're doing that and why they're doing it. If you listen to Hybrid Theories number 42, you'll know that what is their real agenda and why. I get down into detail on the Greys. So on number 43, I call this one UFO EMF phenomenon, right? So a lot of people will see photos and videos of extraterrestrial vehicles, UFOs, USOs, which were unidentified submersibles that come out of the water. A lot of these photos, videos that you see, which are authentic, especially the older photos, you'll see electronic magnetic field, right? That's an EMF. And it's kind of hard to see. A lot of times you have to zoom in really, really close to the photo in order to take a look at that electronic magnetic field. Most of these crafts will put this out. Most of them. Unless it's standing still. And it's crazy how we catch them in photographs. They're so fast you can't even see with the naked eye. You know, unless your camera has a super fast shutter or you're lucky enough to catch it. I post a lot of those on Alien Strand there on Facebook. Check those out. Every day I post something on there. Because it blows me away too, just by seeing it or just by a photo. I have another podcast, which is number 44. I call it They Came Back, with Elena Danan, and she's out of Ireland, I believe. She has her own group there. I think it's called the Palladians or something like that group. And she was abducted as a child several times. Or even, I believe her grandmother even knew about it. And this my guest, we have an awesome conversation about what happened to her. And the scoop marks that she got because of the tests that these extraterrestrials did on her. And they were not friendly tests. But if you go back, listen to that podcast with my guest, Elena Danan, check her out. Go visit her group there, or go check her out on Facebook. She has a lot of interesting information on what exactly happened to her. So I did another one because this was called episode number 45, The Zeta Factor. This was about Zeta Reticuli. A lot of these alien encounters that happen with a lot of these stories that I put out. Even the Betty and Barney Hill, she draws it. The Zeta Reticuli constellation. And I get into how far it is from the Earth, how many light years it is, and more details about extraterrestrials, that the possibility of life there on a star. That's called the Zeta Factor. Go check that out. Number 46, it was the Real UFO Talk with Mr. Michael Beavers. This was the first one I had with him. Very great guest. He's got his own show as well. So we had an awesome conversation about UFOs and everything that happens all over. And it's just, we go into a lot of details and what happened to him and how he videotaped it. The triangular shape. That's a very famous shape that you'll see all over, which is a triangular shape. Stars you'll see starting to go together. A lot of these UFO videos that we're seeing, that we're catching every day, it has more of a triangular shape when they appear. And then they disperse, right? So that triangle means something. I mean, do you think that they're connected with the pyramids because it's triangular? The Mayan pyramids? We have so many pyramids around the world, even in India, Africa, everywhere. Antarctica. And yet we still see the pyramid triangular shape in the star or the UFO that's presenting itself at first, always in triangular shape. Is that a piece of the puzzle? Possibly. Do you think that alien life visited us more than 3,000 to 4,000 years ago? Left their impression, left their mark behind? I do. They're in the petroglyphs. All over Arizona as well. I got friends that are out there, talking about these every day. How the petroglyphs coincide with what happened in the past. The natives as well. They have stories. So, on my episode 47, this happened in 1976. The Allagash 4. And this happens with 4 friends. 2 of them twin brothers. They go on a camping trip for a few weeks, I believe. And they run into something amazing that they can't even explain today. Today, they still can't explain it. I believe out of all of them, that whole encounter that happened to them, you need to listen to this story. Number 47, I go into detail on their abduction. Yes, their abduction. On number 48, I did the Real UFO Talk again, too, with Michael Beavers and Rodney Thomas. Really good friends. Michael Beavers actually has a show called The Theory with Michael Beavers, and Rodney Thomas has The Awaken Show. And they were able to both be guests on my show, and we talked about, these triangular-shaped UFOs, everything that's been happening. Of course, I believe we talked about Skinny Bob and everything in general of what people are seeing out there and how they're seeing it. And how these 2 guys have that show and they break these videos down for you and they give you a better perspective on what you're seeing on screen as far as an actual UFO or it's not. Now, number 49, this was called the sleep paralysis effect. And this is like one of my favorite stories as well because I get into super detail on sleep paralysis, right? I mean, I know that they say I think 1 out of 10 people have experienced sleep paralysis. And that's when you wake up and you can't move. It's like something's holding you down or something's sitting on your chest, right? And I get into detail on how this happens. the scientific aspect of it. I break it down for you, and then I give you a different aspect of it on what it could be. Included, there are a few stories of people, of life true events that have happened to them as well. So check out that. This is number 49.
Discover, this is Daniela.
Hi, it's Jennifer Coolidge. I just want to thank you for making me feel so special. I earned cash back on debit for my dinner party groceries.
That's great, but with Discover Cashback Debit, we give everyone cash back on everyday purchases. Anything else I can help you with?
Do you like asparagus and mushroom sorbet? I've got leftovers.
Introducing Discover Cashback Debit, a checking account with cash back. It pays to Discover. Eligibility and terms at discover.com/cashback debit. Discover Bank, member FDIC.
So number 50, I love this era in time. This is called World War II Foo Fighters pilot stories, right? So in World War II, these Foo Fighters, what they call them, when these military airplanes were flying up there, patrolling the skies, they would see these balls of light just appear next to them, or on the wings of the plane. They were thinking it was something else at the time. This story actually happens in, I think, late November of 1944. Several stories that happened on, I think it was the 415th Night Flyer Squadron. Yeah, those guys are the ones that saw these things first. And I believe if you go to Extraterrestrial Strange Happenings group with Mr. Anibal Quiñones Caballero, you'll see he posts a lot of World War II era photos, and he will analyze and find a lot of these objects out there in the sky that you won't even know that they're there. He'll point them out to you, and he does an awesome job there on their group, so you need to check them out. Check out that story, which is number 50. So I did number 51, so I stayed within the same timeline. And this was a very interesting story that Mr. Paul Wilburn brought to my attention, and I had seen it prior a few times, even on Gaia and History Channel, yada. You see it all over. And this one was called the Die Glock. This was that the bell that they called it, the Nazi bell, that people saw and witnessed this bell rise up from the ground, and it used some kind of mercury to make it levitate that was mixed and infused in it. Where it came from, where they put it, and where it could be is in this story. Remember, a lot of these stories I go into detail on them, times, dates, and actual information from the people themselves that witnessed it. And I have one, number 52, which was this happened in Aurora, Texas. You'll see it a couple of times. It happened in 1897. Where I was here in the 1940s, 1950s. This one happened in 1897. And this was documented. This was around northwest of Dallas in 1847. There was a lot of farmland in that area of Aurora. I believe it was a small town. Maybe 200-300 people lived there, maybe less. And they witnessed this craft hit a windmill and exploded on impact. And it actually crashed on a judge's property. I believe it messed up his water well, messed up his plants. But go check that out, number 52. I call that one 1897. Go check that out. Then we have number 53, the Cash and Landrum incident. This happened in 1980. These people lived there around north of Houston. And they were just looking for a bingo game. And they end up running into this humongous UFO, which stopped them instantly in their tracks, right? And I get into super detail on this story. This is a very good story, because the plot thickens in this story, and it gets even better towards the end. And a lot of these encounters, they do happen quickly. A lot of them within 5 minutes, 2 minutes. Some of them within 15 minutes that they can remember. A lot of times they have this loss of time. They don't know if they think a minute or 2 minutes just went by, but actually they've been sitting there for a while. Gone. People looking for them. You know, and then they show up later. We have number 54, the aerial aliens. Now, this story is a good story. This happened around the Zimbabwe, around Africa. Thing about this story, this happened in 1994. And it was witnessed by over 60 children. And it's just crazy how the details on this story came out. They did pictures, photos. The kids, over 30 kids, drew photos of what they saw and what they witnessed and what this whole encounter was about. Was it an accident encounter? I believe it was. But the ending of that story will get you thinking. Listen to that. That's number 54. Great story. Number 55, the Berkshire, 1969. This happened in Berkshire, Massachusetts. You know, this story has, I think it's Thomas Reed, Matt Reed, his mom, and his grandmother, right? They encountered a UFO that was witnessed by over 40 people. But on their way home in these backwoods that they lived in, you know, they owned a restaurant, but they lived in the country. On their way home, they run into this extraterrestrial UFO, huge, that changes their life forever. And even changes them mentally later in life. As that plot thickens later, as children and as adults. That's a good story. Go back and listen to that one, number 55. Then we have number 56. I call this one 1947. Happened around the Tacoma, Washington area. This was one of the recent ones I just did. There's two patrolmen that were on a little landmass out there, like little islands in that area, around the Washington area. They were patrolling out there, you know, moving wood out the way so other boats would not run into it. Lo and behold, they get this sensation, and then all of a sudden, they see these UFOs right above the boat. It's a real good story here, has a lot of detail, and the plot thickens. Military comes into play in this one as well. Check this story out. It's number 56. It's called 1947. You know, and that has been my recap of the year of 2020 and podcasts for Alien Strand. And I just want to thank everybody for just sticking around, listening to these podcasts, even before you go to sleep. So many people have told me, man, I love listening to your podcast. Put some headphones on, and I just sit there and listen to it before I go to bed. Relaxes me, even though some of them are kind of crazy stories, but there are a lot of detailed information that people like. And I always talk about my first 10 episodes, and when I go back and listen to those, you know, I'm kind of like, wow, what was I thinking, you know, how I was speaking. But, you know, I was just getting started. And now, got my niche on how to present this information to you as a loyal listener to Alien Strand Podcast. You know, and I have so many loyal listeners out there. Even right now, I have David Aleph and Kelly Green listening right now on the live chat. Paul, he's out there. All my friends are out there listening to these podcasts, even on their own time. It doesn't have to be on live. But I want to thank you guys for that. I want to thank Kelly Green, my fiance. Paul Wilburn. He's my best buddy there in the UK. David Aleph, there, you know, he's one of my best buddies too. I talk to him on a daily basis, almost maybe once a week. Great guy, love him. Great musician. Anibal Caballero. I speak to him a lot. He helps me a lot with a lot of these photos and videos. Jody Gordon. He's got Jody Gordon and Anibal are from Extraterrestrial and Strange Happenings group. Go check them out. It's a strict group, but their information that they have on there is so good that you won't be breaking any of their rules, because once you mess up, that's it, you're out. And you know what? That's the way it should be. Very respectful, just like the way you guys are on Alien Strand. I think the last time I kicked somebody out of Alien Strand was, I don't know, back in March, February. Everybody's been good ever since. Because you guys are respectful to each other on your comments, on what you're seeing out there. Because Alien Strand is not here to make you believe. Just to let you see for yourself. You make the final call on that. You make the judgment on that. I'd like to thank my friend Arizona Gallegos. He's got his own little group there on Facebook. Cindy Grigsby posts a lot of photos that she has on there as well. Check her out. And Mr. John McGavick. He's one of my best buddies there. I love that guy. I had an interview with him on, it was about Mars. It's one of my very first podcasts. Go check out that interview I did with him. And he gives you a lot of pointers on how to see these images on Mars, faces, and things that he has found. I believe he's got his own YouTube. They're on YouTube, on his own channel. So his name is John McGavick, Jon McGavick. Check him out. Good friend of mine. Got some good stuff there. I'd like to thank Mike Beavers as well, with the theory with Mike Beavers. Speak to him a lot. And Mr. Chris Wax, the director for Case 347 movie. You know, he had a lot of good insights. Very down-to-earth guy. I check on him from time to time, especially what's been going on out here with this COVID stuff, and just to make sure he's okay. And a lot of my friends, just to see if you guys are okay. And I do that to you guys because, you know, I care about each and every one of you. Appreciate every one of you. A good friend of mine, his name is Robert Earl White. Check him out on YouTube. Now, he's got a 3-part series story on an abduction that happened to him and his family when he was a child. I'm going to get him on my show. He promised me since last year to get on my show. But he's a busy guy. I believe he's getting on these big shows now, to tell his story. But I will get him on Alien Strand so we can talk a little bit more in depth of what happened and what he remembers on his story on possible abduction. And I'd like to thank Mr. Roddy Thomas. He has the Awaken show. Both of these guys, Mike Beavers and him, were on my show in the past. And man, we had some great conversations. And last but not least, I might have a possible guest. His name is Ryan Twain from the UK. He's a DJ, host, And now he's doing a documentary on ancient astronauts. So he hit me up. I'm trying to schedule something with him. Thank you, Ryan, for calling me. And we're going to get you on a show because I think people are interested on your documentary and what it's about. Just like everybody else's stories out there. And I wanted, like I said, I wanted to recap this for you guys. You can go back and listen to them. There's a lot of information there for you. A lot of detailed information. You know, and there's just people from all over the world listening to Alien Strand. If you didn't know, they're from everywhere. Different countries, everywhere. You know, it's Australia, the UK, Africa, United States. They're coming from everywhere. You know, and listening to our show. Ireland. And I want to thank each and one of you guys for tuning into this show. And I'm going to have good content, really, really good content for you guys. And if you liked this live podcast, let me know in your comments. And we'll get some more live stuff out here. I do this on the fly, just like every one of my podcasts. I don't cut. I don't do anything like that. I go straight through it. There's no editing. So, because I just love talking about ufology. So thank you guys for listening to the show. Please spread the word. Catch us on Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram, and alienstrand.com. Go hit up our Instagram. Throw us a follow on there. We're going to have some good stuff coming up for you guys. David, thank you. Sorry I couldn't answer all your questions there, but I read every single one of them. Thank you. Thank you guys for listening to this show. Let's go ahead and end this 2020. We'll end it right. Enjoy time with your families. Hope you guys had a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holiday. And I want you guys to have a Happy New Year as well. Let's get Alien Strand pushed out there for 2021. We'll get some more stories out there for you guys. More content for you guys to enjoy. You know, and it's been my pleasure. It's been my pleasure. Thank you, and I love you guys, and we'll see you in 2021. Have yourselves a Happy New Year. Have yourselves a good day. Have yourselves a good evening. And have yourselves a good night.
You can catch me on my YouTube channel, Alien Adam. That's ALIENADAM. All one word with no spaces. We'll see you there.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.